The world population needs to be under 10% of what it currently is. Well, that's according to the Georgia Guidestones. In June 1979, a man using the alias R.C. Christian approached the Alberton Granite Finishing Company on behalf of a small group of loyal Americans and commissioned the structure. Christian explained that the stones would function as a compass, calendar, and clock, and should be capable of withstanding catastrophic events. The Georgia Guidestones stand at over 19 feet tall and weigh over 118 tons. Inscribed on the Guidestones are a set of 10 guidelines written in 8 different languages. You can pause the video here to see all the guidelines, but a few of them include: guide reproduction wisely, avoid petty laws and useless officials, be not a cancer on the earth. Now, for its astronomical features. The center of the column features a hole drilled at an angle from one side to the other, which is lined up with the North Star. A 22mm aperture in the capstone allows for a ray of sun to pass through at noon each day, shining a beam on the center stone indicating the day of the year. So why do you think these were built? Who do you think built them? And do you agree? The Titanic never actually sank, according to this theory. So the theory is the company that created the Titanic also had other boats, and one of their boats was called the Olympic. And supposedly, the Olympic had a couple collisions and it was on its last leg. So before the Titanic set sail, they switched ships. So basically, they put the Titanic logo on the Olympic because they knew it was going to sink, and that was so they could collect the insurance money. The Olympic had 16 portholes and the Titanic had 14 portholes. Here's a picture of the Titanic setting sail, and as you can see, there are 16 portholes on the side. James Cameron went to look for the Titanic wreckage while shooting the movie. He took a bunch of footage and photos and caught this picture of the Titanic. When you zoom in on the side, you can see a big letter M and P. Around that time of the Titanic, there was a big coal strike, thousands of people out of work, yet no one wanted to work on the ship due to rumors going around town. Most of the rich people who got invited to the Titanic didn't even show up. J.P. Morgan had a ticket and decided not to go. On the day the Titanic sank, the New York Times spotted J.P. Morgan out with his girlfriend at a restaurant. So let me know what you think. Disclaimer, pause to read. Are mattress firms a front for money laundering? It all started with a Reddit post asking, what conspiracy theory do you 100% buy into and why? Mattress firm is some sort of giant money laundering scheme. They are everywhere and always empty. I remember seeing 4 mattress firms all on each corner of an intersection once. There is no way there is such a demand for mattresses. Here are some maps posted by others showing how many mattress stores are in their area. So what is money laundering? Let's say you make money illegally by selling drugs, prostitution, gambling. Then you need a way to clean that money and get it into a bank. One way is by opening a business and saying the cash came from there. That way you can go to the bank and say, look, we sold $10,000 worth of mattresses today, when in reality you only sold 1,000. So the theory is, why are there so many mattress stores when you only buy a new mattress every 7 to 10 years? So keep an eye out for mattress stores around your town, and you may notice they're usually always empty. The Blair Witch was real, and her name was Ellie Kedward. Apparently, she had a very dark past. Her mother died during childbirth, and her father was taken captive and disemboweled while she was forced to watch. She was then raped, tortured, and left for dead. But she was rescued by a hermit who taught her the occult. She ended up arriving in America in 1769, settling in the town of Blair, Maryland. In 1785, several children accused Ellie of witchcraft. The town of Blair deemed Ellie guilty and banished her to the woods by tying her to a tree and leaving her for dead. In the following year, all of her accusers and half of the town's children disappeared. After that, they abandoned the town, vowing to never mention Ellie's name again. Many years later, when the town was reestablished in 1886, a girl went missing. So they sent out a search party to find the girl, but they never returned. Another party was sent out to find them, and they did. They found their murdered bodies, nude, tied together, completely disemboweled, and strange symbols were carved into them. And this is only the beginning of the Blair Witch. The mysterious death of Elisa Lam. The 21-year-old Elisa Lam was from Canada visiting California when she went missing in February 2013. The last known sighting of her was from an elevator security camera from the Hotel Cecil in Los Angeles. In the video, you can see her entering and looking out multiple times. You can see her trying to hide in the corner, then it appears as if she's talking to someone, but no one's there. A week or so after this footage was taken, the people in the hotel started to notice something wrong with the water. It smelled and tasted weird. It was brown and discolored. So a hotel employee went up to the roof to check on the water supply to see if there was something wrong. When he opened one of the 1,000-gallon water tanks, he discovered her body floating face down. Her body had been decomposing in the water for 2 weeks. The biggest mystery is how she got in the tank in the first place, because the doors and stairs that access the hotel's roof are locked. The autopsy report says there was no foul play and there are currently 0 suspects in her case. So this case remains unsolved. The unsolved case of D.B. Cooper. On Wednesday, November 24th, 1971, a man boarded a plane heading from Portland to Seattle. All he brought with him was a suitcase and a paper bag. Midway through the flight, Cooper handed a flight attendant a note and told her he had a bomb. He instructed the flight attendant to sit down next to him and he showed her the bomb. In the suitcase were 4 sticks of dynamite and a bunch of wires. He then told her to write down his demands and take him to the pilot. He wanted $200,000 in $20 bills put in a backpack. He requested 4 parachutes, 2 front chutes and 2 back chutes, a fuel truck to immediately refuel the plane when they land, and not to try anything funny or he'll set off the bomb. When they landed in Seattle, Cooper traded the passengers for the items he had requested. He then told the plane to take off and head for Mexico City, but to fly below 10,000 feet. Shortly after the plane had taken off, Cooper opened the rear doors and jumped out of the plane somewhere near the Washington and Oregon border. 9 years later, a boy found a brown paper bag with $20 bills that matched the serial numbers of the money given to Cooper, totaling $5,800. Until this day, Cooper and the remaining money are still missing. Why the Earth is flat, according to some people. First off, you have to put yourself in the mindset of a flat earther. They don't trust NASA, because NASA is the one who provides us with the photos we see of the Earth, which are composite photos taken as satellites orbit the Earth. Then these photos are photoshopped together, making some clowns on Google Earth appear to be copy and pasted. So what is the flat Earth theory? They believe the Earth is actually on a plane under a dome, also known as a firmament, and the Earth is surrounded by a giant ice wall, aka Antarctica. In the late 1950s, almost every nation signed a treaty not allowing people to visit Antarctica, and also all flight paths lead away from it. There was a flight going from the Philippines to Los Angeles, and mid-flight, a pregnant woman had her water break and they had to make an emergency landing in Alaska. If you put the flight path on the flat Earth map, it's a straight shot from the Philippines to Alaska. But when you put that flight path on the globe, it just doesn't make sense. There are many more theories out there, but these were just an example of the very strange deaths of Dyatlov Pass. Between February 1st and 2nd in 1959, 9 experienced hikers died in the Ural Mountains in Russia from uncertain circumstances. During the night, something caused them to cut their way out of their tents and flee the campsite underdressed for the conditions. 2 bodies were found by the tree line about a mile away from camp. They were found only in their underwear, even though temperatures reached below -20 degrees. A tree next to them had all its branches broken up to a height of 18 feet and was covered in blood. 3 bodies were found between the campsite and the tree line, and 1 had a fractured skull. They ruled the cause of death for these 5 bodies as hypothermia. The remaining 4 bodies were found 2 months later. 1 had a fractured skull, 1 had a crushed rib cage, and 1 had crushed ribs, a missing tongue, and missing eyes. Weird enough, these 4 bodies were wearing the clothes of the bodies that were previously found, and those same clothes tested positive for radiation. The injuries to the bodies were determined to be too strong for a human to cause. They related the injuries to those you would see in a car crash. So what do you think happened to the Dyatlov 9? The true story of the Conjuring. In January 1971, the Perron family moved into a farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Almost immediately after they moved in, Carolyn, Roger, and their 5 daughters started to notice strange things happening. Small things happened at first. Carolyn would notice the broom would be missing or moved, scratchy noises from the kitchen when no one was in there. Then the girls started to notice spirits around the house. They were mostly harmless, except for one, Bathsheba. Bathsheba Sherman lived on the Perrons' property in the mid-1800s. She was rumored to have been a Satanist, and there is evidence that she had been involved in the death of a neighbor's child. The family said you can tell when she was around. You would feel a cold, stinking presence that smelled like rotting flesh. She would cause the beds to rise off the ground and drop when people were sleeping in them. The family called in experts to host a seance. During the seance, Carolyn Perron became possessed, speaking in tongues and rising from the ground in her chair. The scariest part is that the Warrens maintain that all of the events depicted in The Conjuring actually happened.